Good morning, children. Welcome to English class. So we are starting the classes for the second term of this academic year. In drama, we have to complete a little portion. Okay. Today, we will learn a short story. That is the 10th short story, the last one. That is All Summer in a Day, written by Ray Douglas Bradbury. All Summer in a Day, written by Ray Douglas Bradbury. He is an American science fiction writer. He was born in 1920 USA in a small town of Waukegan, Illinois. He used to write stories even when he was a child. And Ray Bradbury's most famous novel is Fahrenheit 451. Okay, about this story, it is set. Okay, this story is set on the planet Venus, and it revolves around a group of school children who were born on the planet Venus, where they lived with their families. The author has depicted the planet Venus as a place where it rains constantly and the sun emerges once every 7 years, and that too for 2 hours. Okay, and see, when we think about the planet Venus, you know many facts about Venus. What are some of the facts you know about Venus? Can you tell me? Just remember, try to recall what you know about the planet Venus. Venus is the hottest planet of the solar system. Okay, and then it is the only planet that rotates in the opposite direction. That's another fact. And in Venus, there are no temperature variations between day and night. And Venus is only slightly smaller than Earth and is considered its sister because they are similar in size, composition, and volume. Okay, so these are some of the facts I just told about the Venus planet. Okay, but here Bradbury's planet Venus is completely different. Okay, in Bradbury's Venus, it always rains. It rains incessantly, or he says it rains violently for 7 years at a time, and the sun breaks through only for 2 hours between these downpours. Okay, so that's what Bradbury's Venus. Now, the themes that he wants to convey through the story is the theme of jealousy and bullying, and that is explored through the behavior of the students living on the planet Venus. We know that children generally tend to become mean and insensitive when they are confronted with someone different from themselves. So that causes jealousy in them, and they try to bully them to give vent to their feelings. And another theme is the space travel. The story refers subtly to the theme of space travel. You know, this our author Ray Bradbury wrote the story more than a decade before the first man walked on the moon. So the story is a fantasy about space and imagination of how life would be on a planet like Venus. So the idea of incessant rain on a planet for 7 years is a fantastical element. Actually, the Venus is the hottest planet, but in Bradbury's Venus, it rains incessantly. That you have to remember. Okay, and so what are some of the things you can tell about when we tell about the science fiction story? Okay, I know you might have read many science fiction stories. Uh, okay, and there's also a film based on the story All Summer in a Day. The story is based on science fiction, and science fiction is often set in future, in space, or in some altogether different world or planet. And Bradbury's All Summer in a Day is a story set in future on the planet Venus, and the characters are on Venus to set up a civilization and live out their lives. Okay, now we'll see the textbook. All of you open the textbook. Those who do not have the textbook near you, just you can look onto the screen. Okay, now you can see the author Ray Douglas Bradbury. So the scientists have predicted that in the planet Venus, the sun may appear after this 7 years of incessant rain. So the children and the teachers are waiting to see the sun. Okay, so they are all waiting to see the beautiful sun, and all the children here in the story are 9 years old. That means the sun had appeared when they were 2 years old. That means they are not able to remember how the sun looked or how it is. So we can say this is the first time they are going to see the sun and feel its warmth. Okay, so they are eagerly waiting to see the sun. Okay, All Summer in a Day, written by Ray Douglas Bradbury. Ready? Ready. Now? Soon. Do the scientists really know? Will it happen today? Will it? Look. Look. See for yourself. The children pressed to each other like so many roses so many weeds intermixed, peering out for a look at the hidden sun. So the story begins with the conversation between the teacher and the students. So the teacher is asking the students, are you all ready? The children answers that they are ready, and they're asking now, is it now the sun is going to appear? And the teacher replies, yes, soon. So again, they have a doubt whether the scientist had predicted correctly or no. Will it happen today? Will it? So the teacher tells them to see and look, see for yourself. So all the children, they just pushed each other, pressed to each other like many roses and many weeds. So in the beginning of the story itself, the writer gives a hint that the children are like so many roses, so many weeds. That means they are not so innocent. Okay, you know what weeds. Okay, that means so many weeds intermixed. So weeds, unwanted plants, the wild plants. If if the weeds are growing with the plants, they take the minerals and manure that we give to the plants, and the weeds may grow among the plants. So they have to be removed. Okay. So in the beginning of the story, the writer tells us that the children are like so many roses, so many weeds, intermixed, peering out for a look at the hidden sun. So all are waiting to see the hidden sun. Now, it rained. It had been raining for 7 years. So this is the situation in Bradbury's Venus. How? It had been raining for 7 years. Thousands upon thousands of days, compounded and filled from one end to the other with rain, with the drum and gush of water, with the sweet crystal fall of showers, and the concussion of storms so heavy they were tidal waves come over the lands. So this is the situation when it rains in Venus. Okay, so there is the uh, drum and gush of water, the sound of gushing water, and the sweet crystal fall of showers, and the concussion. What is that concussion? Concussion means that just like a heavy blow. Okay, and the concussion of storms, heavy storms. So the storms are so heavy that they were tidal waves come over the islands. 1,000 forests had been crushed under the rain and grown up 1,000 times to be crushed again. So because of this rain, incessant rain, forest had been crushed because of the flood, and then again thousands of forests are grown again to be crushed again. And this was the way life was forever on the planet Venus. So this is the way life was in the planet. Always it was raining, and it rains, or it continues to rain for 7 years, and between that the sun may come out or appear for 1 or 2 hours. Now, and this was the schoolroom of the children of the rocket men and women. So this was the schoolroom of the children of the rocket men and women. So who are this rocket men and women. The men and women, or these rocket men and women, are the men and women who had immigrated to Venus from the Earth by the rockets. Okay, they have immigrated to Venus, and these school children, they are born and brought up in Venus. So men and women who had come to a reigning world to set up a civilization and live out their lives. So why did they come there? They had come, okay, they had come to Venus to set up a civilization and live out their lives. It's stopping. It's stopping. Yes, yes. Margot stood apart from them, from these children who could ever remember a time when there wasn't rain and rain and rain. So Margot, she's the protagonist of the story, and she stood apart from them. Okay, the writer will tell you why she stood apart, okay, from the other children. And these children who could ever remember a time when there wasn't rain. So the children could not remember a time when there was no rain. They were all 9 years old. Now all the children are 9 years old. And if there had been a day 7 years ago when the sun came out for an hour and showed its face to the stunned world, they could not recall. So the writer says that if they had witnessed, that means there, if there had been a day 7 years ago when the sun came out for an hour and showed its face to the stunned world, that means here stunned world means they will be shocked or stunned, because always it was raining, or always it is raining, and so when the rain stops and the sun comes out, they are stunned to see this, and they could not recall. So since they are 9 years, that means when they were 2 years old, the sun might have appeared, but since they were very small, they could not recall. So they could not remember how the sun looked like, or how they felt its warmth, all this. Sometimes at night she heard them stir in remembrance. So sometimes at night Margot heard heard the other children stare in their sleep in remembrance, and she knew they were dreaming and remembering gold, or a yellow crayon, or a coin large enough to buy the world with. Okay, so this is what they might have dreamed. That's what she thinks. Okay, they might have been remembering, or they might have dreamt in their sleep about how the sun might look like. Okay, okay, so it's like a yellow crayon or a coin large enough to buy the world with. She knew, they thought, they remembered a warmness, like a blushing in the face, in the body, in the arms and legs, and trembling hands. So she knew, okay, that the sun, when the sun comes out from the clouds, they can feel, or she can feel, a warmness, like a blushing in the face, or in the body, in the arms and legs and trembling hands. But then they always awoke to the tattling drum, the endless shaking down of clear bead necklace, upon the roof. But then they always woke, whenever they woke up, what did they hear? They heard the tatting drum, that is the sound of the rain. Always, uh, the always rain, the raining, the sound of tatting drum, the endless shaking down of clear bead necklaces. See how the writer has described. Okay, it's very beautiful. He describes as the endless shaking down of, you can imagine the shaking down of as if when a necklace is, okay, the beads from a necklace falls down. Okay, so he compares the rain like falling down of clear bead necklaces upon the roof. The walk, the gardens, the forest, and their dreams were gone. All day yesterday they had read in class about the sun, about how like a lemon it was and how hot. So before the previous day, they just discussed, the teacher and the students discussed about the sun, how it will be. Okay, it about how it is like a lemon, and the warmth, whether if it is hot. So this is what they discussed about the sun the previous day. And they had written small stories or essays or poems about it. And the teacher asked them to write small stories or poems about the sun. Okay, and I think the sun is a flower that blooms for just 1 hour. So that was Margot's poem, read in a quiet voice in the still classroom while the rain was falling outside. So that was Margot's poem. She has written that the sun is like a flower. The sun is like a flower that blooms just for 1 hour. Oh, you didn't write that, protested one of the boys. So one of the boys said, oh, you didn't write that, did you? I did, said Margot. I did. So Margot said, yes, I did. Or Margot replied that it was she who wrote that poem about the sun. William, said the teacher. But that was yesterday. Now the rain was slackening. Now the rain was slackening. That means becoming less, decreasing. And the children were crushed in the great thick windows. And now everyone is pushing and they are going near the windows to see. Was teacher? She'll be back. She'd better hurry, we'll miss it. So everybody is asking where the teacher is. And someone said she will be back and she should, yes, she should hurry. Otherwise she's going to, or they will miss. They turned on themselves like a feverish wheel, all tumbling spokes. Okay, so they turned on themselves like a feverish wheel, all tumbling spokes. That is the thin bars or rods that connect the center of the wheel to the outer edge. That's what the spokes. Okay, and Margot stood alone. She was a very frail girl who looked as if she had been lost in the rain. for years, and the rain had washed out the blue from her eyes, and the red from her mouth, and the yellow from her hair. She was an old photograph dusted from an album, whitened away, and if she spoke at all, her voice would be a ghost. So, this is what Margot's condition is. Okay, you should know how the writer had described Margot. Okay, she was a very thin and frail girl. Okay, and then who looked as if she had been lost in the rain, as because she is not exposed to the sun for a long period, and the rain had washed out the blue from her eyes. Her beautiful eyes now doesn't look beautiful. Okay, the blue color of her eyes vanished, and the red from her mouth, that means the beautiful red lips, now they don't have that red color. The lips do not have that red color. The rain had washed the red from her mouth and the yellow from her hair. Her hair also does not have that beautiful color. She was an old photograph, dusted. See the comparison or the metaphor used here. She was the the writer says that she was an old photograph dusted from an album. You might have seen the black and white photograph of your like great grandparents or grandmothers old photos. Okay, how it looks like. The writer says that she looked like an old photograph dusted from an album, whitened away, and if she spoke at all, her voice would be a ghost. Now she stood separate, staring at the rain and the loud, wet world beyond the huge glass. Now everybody is looking through the windows, and she stood separately. She was not mingling with the children. Okay, we'll see or we'll know why she's not mingling with others. What are you looking at? Said William. Margot said nothing. So when William asked, "What are you looking at?" she did not reply. Speak when you are spoken to. So, how rudely William spoke to her. So, William is another character in the story. So, he asked her what she was looking at, and she did not reply. And William became angry, and he told her, "See, you should speak when you are spoken to." That means if somebody speaks to her, she has to speak to them. He gave her a show. He gave her a show means he just gave her a strong push, of a forceful push. But she did not move. Rather, she let herself be moved only by him and nothing else. They edged away from her. So the other children, they just isolated her. They would not look at her. She felt them go away. And now the writer tells the reason why the other children did not come near her or look at her. Okay, and this was because she would play no games with them in the echoing tunnels of the underground city. So in the underground city, or where their school is, okay, they just go run and play, but Margot doesn't play with them. If they tagged her and ran, She stood blinking after them and did not follow. So she did not involve herself in their games. If they tagged her and ran, she stood blinking after them and she did not go after them and she did not follow them. When the class sang songs about happiness and life and games, her lips barely moved. So she did not take part in any of the activities that they had taken part. Okay, so when the whole class sang songs about their happiness and the life, she did not even move her lips. Only when they sang about the sun and the summer did her lips move as she washed the drenched windows. Okay, so what brought her happiness is only when she thought about the sun. So when the children, when they sang about the sun and the summer, she sang. Okay, her lips moved as she washed the drenched windows, the windows drenched with water. And then, of course, the biggest crime of all was that she had come here only 5 years ago from Earth. Okay, so that is the reason. That is the reason the other children are jealous about her and they isolated her. You know the reason? Yes, the writer says that the biggest, okay, the biggest crime of all was that she had come here only 5 years ago. So only 5 years ago, Margot came to Venus. That means till 4 years she was living in the earth. And she remembered the sun and the way the sun was and the sky was when she was 4 in Ohio. Okay, so this is why the children are jealous of her because she could remember how the sun is, the warmth of the sun. Okay, and now she is not exposed to the sun and she is just like what? Yes, an old photograph, a whitened photograph dusted from an album. Okay, so she remembered the sun and the way the sun was and the sky was when she was 4 in Ohio. Okay, so do you remember the name of the state, Ohio? We have come across this name in a story. Yes, what was that? Yes, my greatest Olympic prize. Okay, Jesse Owens. Okay, he was studying in the University of Ohio. Yes, okay. And they had been on Venus all their lives. But what about the other children? Except Margot, all the other children had been in Venus all their lives. They are born and brought up there. And they had been only 2 years old when last the sun came out and had long since forgotten the color and heat of it and the way it really was. So, when the sun appeared the last time, these children were only 2 years, and so they could not remember how the sun looked like or how it was. So, they had forgotten the color and the heat of it and the way it really was. But Margot remembered. But Margot remembered because till 4 years she was in the earth. Okay, so it's like a penny. So she remembered. So it is round like a penny. And she said once, eyes closed. No, it's It's not, the children cried. It's like a fire, she said, in the stove. So the children said, no, it's not. But then again she said, it's like a fire, so hot. It's like a fire in the stove. You're lying. You don't remember, cried the children. So the children said, hey, you don't remember. You don't know what the sun is. You are just lying. You are telling a lie, said the other children. But she remembered and stood quietly apart from all of them and watched the patterning windows. Okay, so, but she did not say anything. She just stood quietly apart from all the other children and watched the patterning windows. That is the designs or patterns that appear on the windows when it rains. That's what watch the patterning windows. And once a month ago, she had refused to shower in the school shower room. So uh, once a month ago, that happened a month ago, she had refused to take shower in the school shower rooms. And what did she show? She had clutched her hands to her ears and over her head, screaming, the water mustn't touch her head, because yes, she was fed up of this rain, always raining, and heavy violent rain. So she just closed her ears uh, and clutched her hands to her ears and over her head, screaming, the water mustn't touch her head. She cannot stand the cold water touching her head. So after that, dimly she sensed it. She was different, and they knew her difference and kept away. So the other children know the difference. Okay, she could not cope up with the situation in Venus, and the children knew that, and they kept aloof. Okay, they kept away. There was talk that her father and mother were taking her back to Earth next year. It seemed a vital to her that they do so, though it would mean the loss of thousands of dollars to her family. Okay, so um, now the children have heard that, or there was a talk that this Margot would be taken back to the earth. It seemed that she could not adapt with the circumstances in Venus. So it seemed vital to her. So it's very important that she should be taken to the earth. That they should do that, though it would mean the loss of thousands of dollars to her family, even though it might cost them thousands of dollars. They should take her back to the earth for her, yes, for her health. And so the children hated her. Now, so again, when they thought that, oh, again this Margot is going to the earth and she'll be seeing the sun every day, that they cannot think of that. So they felt jealous of her. And so the children hated her for all these reasons of big and little consequences. They hated her pale snow face, her waiting silence, her thinness, her possible future. So, what did they hate? Okay, so why did they hate? They hated her for her pale snow face. So, she could not get along with the weather and climate in Venus. She looked as pale, okay, no color of blood in her face, pale snow face, then her waiting silence. That means she does not talk much, and her thinness. She was frail and thin, and her possible future. And what is that possible future? What did you understand from that? Okay, she will be taken to the earth very soon. So that is the possible future. So she'll be seeing the sun, she'll be experiencing the warmth and heat of the sun. So that's why the children are jealous of her. Get away. The boy gave her another push. What are you waiting for? So the boy gave another push. So he pushed her and said, get away. What are you waiting for? So he does not want her to stand there. So he asked her, what are you waiting for? Then, for the first time, she turned and looked at him. So, for the first time, she just looked at straight on his face. And what she was waiting for was in her eyes. Okay, and she's, well, and the boy said, well, don't wait around here, cried the boy savagely. So, very rudely, the boy said, don't wait around. You won't see nothing. Okay, so the boy said, you're not going to see anything here. Her lips moved. Nothing? So she said, nothing? Sorry, her lips moved. Nothing, he cried. It was a joke, wasn't it? So he said that it was all a joke, wasn't it? He turned to the other children. So he was uh, telling that it was all a joke. So he doesn't want Margot to stand there. Okay. So he just turned to the other children and said, see, it was all a joke, wasn't it? Nothing is happening today. So again he said, nothing is happening today, is it? They all blinked at him and then understanding. So they just had us understood what he meant. Okay. So laughed and shook their heads. Nothing, nothing. Oh, but Margot whispered, her eyes helpless. But this is the day the scientists predict. They say they know the sun. Okay, so Margot whispered, but you see, the scientists had predicted this is the day that the sun, what she wants to tell is that this is the day that the sun is going to appear. Immediately, somebody said, all a joke, said the boy. The boy said, and seized her roughly. Hey, everyone, let's put her in a closet before the teacher comes. No, said Margot, falling back. She tried to fall back, but they just, yes, pulled her. Okay, so they wanted to put her in a closet. So the boy said they have to put her in a closet. Closet means a small room, okay, from which she won't be able to escape. That's what. They searched about her, caught her up, and bore her, protesting and then pleading. So first she protested And then finally she knew that because the other children were many and she alone, what she could have done, just protested. Then after that she pleaded, and then she started crying, and back into a tunnel, a room, a closet, where they slammed and locked the door. They stood looking at the door and saw it tremble from her, beating and throwing herself against it. So what she could do now was just beating at the door, okay, and then and throwing herself against it. Okay, she was hitting herself against the door. They heard her muffled cries. That means the cry was not heard loud because she was locked up in that closet. Okay, so they heard only the uh, muffled cries. Then, smiling, the, they turned and went out and back down the tunnel just as the teacher arrived. Okay, children, we'll take the rest in the next class. Okay, you have to read the text thoroughly. Okay, let me ask a few questions. Okay, ready, ready, now, soon. Okay, what are children waiting for? Or can you tell me? Okay, so the children are waiting eagerly for the sun to come out. So they are very eager to see the sun. And here the story opens with a question, ready. And what are the children getting ready for? They are getting ready for that 2 hours when the sun would come out after 7 years of continuous rain. So what kind of people are there on the planet Venus? So the story is set in planet Venus, as we know, and it is about a group of school children who were born on the planet Venus, where they lived with their families. Okay, what did you understand from the phrase rocket men and women? What did you understand? Okay, rocket men and women indicates the men and women who immigrated to Venus from the Earth. And in the story, it is referred raining world. What is referred to as raining world? The planet Venus is referred to as the raining world. Why? Why is it referred like that? Because it rains there constantly, except for 2 hours every 7 years when the sun comes out. Okay. Now, can you describe in your own words? Can you describe how Margot looked like? Okay. See, page number 109 in the textbook. Okay. See, you have to write just like it is given in the textbook. Okay. See, she Margot she was a very frail girl who looked as if she had been lost in the rain for years, and the rain had washed out the blue from her eyes, and the red from her mouth, and the yellow from her hair. She was an old photograph dusted from an album, whitened away, and if she spoke at all, her voice would be a ghost. Okay. So you have to write, or when a question is asked like this, you have to write as the narrator had told. Okay, then only the examiner feels that you are familiar with the textbook. Okay, so okay children, we'll see in the next class.